Good evening and happy Friday. This is Shayna from the Trade Exchange, and I want to get right into some stocks that had some pretty big moves this week. Now, the first one I want to show you, it was up nearly 100% this week, and that is Actus Bio. So they're actually up 95% this week. So it's a pharmaceutical company. And again, it's one of these companies that these positive clinical trial results, and we see the big move in their stock price. So this was a positive top-line proof of concept phase 2A clinical trial for a drug that they call ANB020, and it's for atopic dermatitis. Now, 85% of patients said that they achieved what they call EASI 50 results at day 29 after just one single dose. So, following the release of this positive top-line data, they got price target raises across the board. We had Robert Baird came in at $69, Credit Suisse comes in at $85, RBC comes in at $79, and Stifel coming in at $76. So again, these big price target raises across the board. On top of that, they had priced a public offering. Well, they ended up raising that over 100%, putting out the price target at 68.50. So again, this is one of those pharmaceutical companies when they have these positive results and the reaction on the stock price, again, up over 95%. Now, another company that we all seem to love is Nvidia. So Nvidia constantly making new highs, and once again, they're up 9% this week. And this week it's because of their news on autonomous car chips and the strength on this volume. It's really due to the speed and the progress they're making on these chips. Well, following all this, again, they also receive price target raises. We have Goldman Sachs gives them a price target raise to $217. Well, not only that, but they give a conviction to buy Nvidia. RBC also gives them a price target raise to $220. And you see where this closed out, well below those price targets, so it closed out at $194. So still a ways to go based on these price targets, but again, just this week, it's up 9%. Now, a company that's had a bit of a roller coaster, and we all do love roller coasters, and we've been following this one all week, was Helios and Matheson Analytics. So look at this roller coaster ride. So this stock was at $15, it goes to $30, it goes back to $20. Well, what happened? Well, at first it had great news in the beginning. They had their MoviePass acquisition, and we see the stock price going up. And then Jim Cramer on CNBC calls this a big squeeze. Well, then Citron Research comes out and they say that they would price target this at $20. And they start warning retailers they believe this should be valued around $20. So, of course, then HMOI comes right back down again. On this roller coaster goes down to $20. Well, at that point, Citron says that they're covering their short. They said that they hit their target and they don't want to be short a company that they believe is expected to lose money when it has high borrow costs. So we just see these 100% moves across the board. We saw it today continuing, and I'm sure this is going to be a company we're going to continue to watch next week on this bit of a roller coaster that they've been on for this week. And last but not least, we keep talking about Amazon. We keep talking about the impact that Amazon has in grocers and pharmaceutical companies and all these different industries. So I want to show you two companies this week, very vastly different companies than pharmaceutical or grocers, but once again, possibly having quite an impact by Amazon. So this is the first one. So this is MercadoLibre. And this is an e-commerce website, and they're based out of Latin America. So, of course, what would happen to an e-commerce website if Amazon says, well, you guessed it, they're going to enter the Latin American market? Well, again, here it is down about 10%. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, right? But when you're looking at a stock price, you see it closed out here at $244, being down 10%, that's a big move for a company of this size. So this is a significant impact on the news that Amazon could be entering the space. Well, another company that it could have impacted, take a look at a makeup company. This is Ulta. So Ulta first saw this drop. This is when Cleveland Research gave them a downgrade. They went from a buy to a neutral. And they mentioned that competition could be what's hurting Ulta. Well, then Jim Cramer, once again on CNBC, he mentions that this competition, this could be, once again, you guessed it, Amazon. So Amazon selling these makeup products and increasing this competition. So very interesting to hear the Amazon name once again in another industry completely separate from what we talked about last week, but again, impacting stock prices across the board. Now moving on to crude oil. I want to talk to you about crude oil because crude oil has had a great week. Crude oil is up 4.34% for the week, and we had great Baker Hughes numbers today. So our rig count is down, our total rig count is down. So the total is down 8, came out 928, and the total U.S. oil rig count is down 5 at 743. Now, a big thing with oil this week that really helped boost this up is we found that Chinese imports. So China is the world's largest importer of oil. And some investors were worried. They were worried that because the Chinese economy has been failing a little bit or been struggling, that is their imports going to decrease with that? And it was just the opposite. In September, their imports increased 1 million barrels per day to 9 million barrels. So that's a really big move. And this is the highest level since May. Now, the thing that are still dragging on the heels of oil, though, is keep in mind that Kurdish referendum and in Iraq, and that's still ongoing. The Kurdish and the Iraqi central government, it's boiling, it's getting more intense, and that can impact about 500,000 barrels per day. Also keep in mind, today we heard from our President Trump, and he talked about the Iran nuclear deal, and it's in limbo right now. He said that if the U.S. allies and Congress doesn't get behind tougher policies, that he will pull out of this deal. Well, keep in mind, when this deal was passed in early 2016, it allowed Iran to increase their production of U.S. oil to about 3.8 million barrels per day. So if this deal does get pulled out, if something does happen, that could affect the production that Iran can bring to the oil market. So very interesting to keep an eye out on of the impact of oil and what could happen with that. But again, oil's had a great strong week. A lot of this due to these Chinese imports and these great numbers coming out of that. Again, it's up 4.34% this week. And last but not least, let's take a look at our indices because our markets did very well this week. Once again, we had another great week. The Dow closed up spot 43% and closed out 22,871. S&Ps closed up spot 15%. They closed out 25.53, and the Dow closed out. The Nasdaq closed up spot 23%, closing out 66.05. Gold also closed up. It closed out up spot 11%, closing out 1305.50. And last but not least, our VIX. Our VIX has been very low this week. Again, you can see here we closed out at 9.61, so our VIX is still low this week. I want to wish you all a very wonderful weekend, and I look forward to joining you next week.